Hey, friend, welcome back to another episode of Ash to Dusk. This episode is extra special to me because we are celebrating 50 episodes of the podcast. And I cannot thank you enough for being such a huge part of what I believe is a successful podcast. And I want to break down for you today 10 things that I've learned along the way since starting Ash to Dusk. If you're new here, welcome. We talk about everything and anything in between the messy middle of life, from entrepreneurship, leadership, hormones, motherhood. If you're interested in it and I've experienced it, we are talking about it here on the podcast. Let's dive in. All right, today I actually brought notes with me this time because I don't want to mess something up. But let's talk about this for a minute because if you're like me, you might be new to the podcasting space. Now, I'm not new in terms of being a listener. I have listened to podcasts for several years now. No, more than several years, a good solid 5 to 6 years. And this is like my mobile classroom. It's where I've learned how to become an entrepreneur, a better leader, going after my dreams, listening to things that I don't agree with. It's been a place that I go to listen for my news source. I love to listen to independent journalists they don't always think like me. So I listen to a variety of people, marketing, all the things, you name it. I'm listening to podcasts all the time. And I find podcasts to be so valuable because, well, number one, you're getting the information for free. And who doesn't like free? Secondly, you're getting a really raw version of the person who is the podcaster in most cases. Because they're not bound by the rules of media or of a company. Most of the time, they're independent people like me, and we get to speak our mind and our truth, which is the best version of the person you're going to get. But I wanted to break down some statistics for you because, like I said, if you're like me, you're new to the podcasting space, maybe in terms of you started your own podcast or you want to, but may not understand the statistics around how successful they can become or actually how many don't make it. So I wanted to share some of these with you. I always struggle with celebrating success. Now I'm a lot better than what I used to be, but I oftentimes forget to pause and think about how far I've come and recognize that what I think isn't successful to many other people, it is. And I do need to celebrate that. So I was looking at some numbers. First of all, we have crossed from the moment that I recorded this episode 11,199 total plays. This is across YouTube and Buzzsprout, which really measures things on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, um, anywhere that you would listen to a podcast. So 11,199 total plays since October 26th. Thank you so much for being one of the people who are tuning into the episodes. That means so much to me. Now, at first you think, well, that's probably not a lot. But when we break this down, 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. And this is episode 50. Another fun fact, only 10 to 20% of podcasts ever make it to episode 20. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going. There are roughly 5 million podcasts globally, but there are only 400,000 active podcasts, meaning that those podcasts have posted some sort of episode within the last 30 to 90 days. If you take 400,000 into 5 million now, I'm not like a math guru or anything. That's like 8% of podcasts that have ever been created are active. Only 8%. So I don't know where Ash to Dusk is going to go. My hope is that we're going to be around here for quite some time because I love sharing things that I learn along the way. I wish more people did that. And for me, this is a great way to hone in on my skills of being more clear and accurate, having a place to go when people listen to my keynotes and they want more. Now I have a landing place for them to come back to and get more information to fuel their spirit and to keep learning and growing. So I'm here for the journey. So I thought for this episode, we would go through 10 things that I've learned since starting the podcast. And so let's go right on in. So knowing that only 8% of podcasts are active, Let's start with the number one thing I've learned. Consistency is key. Now, what do I mean by that? There are going to be days where you don't want to show up, you don't want to film, you don't want to, do the thing. Do it anyways. The algorithm loves consistency, especially on YouTube. And YouTube is a new space for me. I don't understand it still to this day. It's not like social media like Instagram and Facebook. YouTube is a search engine and its own beast, and I'm still trying to learn it. So consistency is key. When you show up consistently, it becomes a habit and a routine. And for me, I know that there are people on the other side of this camera counting on the content every single week. And I want to deliver. I don't want to break promises to myself, but consistency is hard because you don't always see the payoff right away. But it just means setting a schedule. For me, I knew I was going to release an episode every Sunday and Wednesday. Sunday typically is our longer form episodes, and Wednesdays have always been like a midweek moment where we check in with each other. We've evolved it a little bit more into leadership and entrepreneurship, career focus on Wednesdays, but consistency is key. And so, no matter what you do, stick with it. Give yourself some time. All right, lesson number 2, you don't need fancy equipment or a fancy studio. The reality is, I started this podcast in my office that was a bedroom upstairs. Now we're down here in my sunroom. I'm recording with a ton of windows around me, and the audio is still fine. Here's the thing, I did invest in a camera. I spent about $1,000 on the camera, and I got a lens, and I got some lighting. I did get some things. Here's the thing, though. Here's what I want to tell you about this. I have recorded several episodes on my phone, and I don't think anyone can tell a difference. The quality is just as good. And I've even used, like the little mini mics. Yeah, I've even used that, and not even this Shure mic. This mic was $500. And I bought the Rodecaster, which you can't see next to me, which helps with the audio, getting it to sound really good for you. So you don't need it though, because although I record a majority of my episodes with this, I actually find it a lot easier to just put my phone up on a tripod, take my mini mic, record it, and send it right into the editing software. With the camera though, I like to use it because I can put everything on my memory card and I'm not like clogging up my phone. Um, so yeah, I mean, you don't need this to get started. So the point being is you may not want to start a podcast, but you want to do something, but you keep waiting because you feel like you need to have all the things. It needs to be perfect. And it doesn't. You just need to get started. That is the thing, because you're going to learn as you go. And that's the whole point. That's what makes this fun. All right, lesson number 3. It's a slow process, but the content is going to work for you long term. So for me, when I say a slow process, on social media, I have over 5,000 followers on my personal page. Like, we have a good following across all the platforms, my personal and Project School Nutrition. But on YouTube, it's a totally different ball game. And so I have 124, I think, subscribers to the podcast on YouTube, which doesn't feel like a lot, but there are stats around that too, which is actually, it is pretty good considering that I just launched the channel in October. Um, you need to take consistency and also realize like this is a long game. This is not something that you win at quickly, but the work that you're putting into it is something that will keep generating for you long term. So, what do I mean by this? One of my early episodes was about the fear of flying. When I first posted it, I had a few views. Honestly, it was just a few views. But today it has 3.3 thousand views on YouTube. So, to give perspective, that was something I did back in October, early November. It's now April, and that is still bringing in viewers and subscribers to the podcast. So just know it is a slow process. And so, whatever you're trying to achieve, your goal, don't wait for a win to happen right away. We were taught that. My generation, especially, everyone gets a participation award. Everyone is doing great. Everyone can do it. Yay, yay, yay. But the reality is, winning is more of a long term game. the quick wins don't last, right? That doesn't fulfill us. But when you've had to work really hard to get to something and then you actually achieve it, it feels really, really good. So for me, I feel like I'm winning. No, I'm not going viral on the podcast and have, millions of people watching and following. But winning to me is that I've put in the work every single week. You guys still show up. And I would rather have a small community of loyal people who also want to learn and grow and who are passionate about the things that I'm passionate about than to have millions of followers, but 99% of them just write hate comments. Like I feel really fortunate that I don't, I haven't experienced that yet, but I'm sure it's coming. All right. The fourth thing that I have learned throughout this journey of podcasting is staring into a camera is a lot harder than it looks. Think about this for a second. When you see somebody on social media, on a podcast, talking into a microphone, you just think they're talking to me, right? But we are staring into a camera. I don't get to see your face. I don't know who's watching on the other side. And that makes it really hard. So we're staring into a camera. We're hoping that we're in frame. I have my camera, like, there is, I can see myself on the side a little bit, but I'm trying not to look there so that I can look at you. And yeah, staring into a camera was a lot harder than I thought because I'm used to talking. I do it for a living, but I get to see faces and that tells me how I'm performing or how I'm delivering on stage. If I see someone sleeping, I know, oh my gosh, I need to up my game. If people are engaged or laughing or crying or whatever it might be, I can see it and I know how to adjust. But for this, I'm just going. I'm just going and I hope it lands. So, yeah, staring into a camera a lot harder than I thought. All right, lesson number 5. AI has been a game changer. So, utilizing AI in anything that you do, the work that you do, can only enhance how well you do, like can only enhance how well you perform and the quality and quantity that you can give. So let me break this down for you. How do I use AI for the podcast? So I take this whole video and I make mistakes, right? So, like right now, it's raining really loud outside. And I keep pausing and waiting for it to slow down because this room is so loud and I don't know if it's picking up through my mic. But I can put it into editing software and I can delete it, like it'll make a transcript for me of everything that I said with all the pauses, and I can just delete out where I don't want there to be a pause or if I've made a mistake. Now, the other cool thing about AI is this: I have a weekly email that goes out every Sunday, and I write the email, but I use AI to help me with it. Now, let me unpack that for a minute. I take the transcript that I spoke, my words on this podcast, and then I put it into AI and I say, take this transcript, keep it in my words, and help me craft my newsletter for the week surrounding this topic. And what it does is it will quickly put together the my newsletter. Now, I'll go back and forth with it and say, okay, no, I want this, or I'll go in and I'll make it more personalized. Um, because sometimes AI likes to throw things in there. And trust me, I can tell AI written articles, social media posts, like it's night and day. And I don't ever want that to be for me. But I think it's helpful because I've already expended all of this energy talking to the camera, right? Making this episode. And then I also need to make the clips, which I use AI for. So it'll quickly make clips for me for social media. But I have to do all those things because I don't have a producer of the show. I don't have an editor. I don't have all those things. So AI has been a game changer. Now, it's also helped me for when I was setting up the podcast. I had no idea how to do the settings on the camera, on the Rodecaster for the audio, the Shure mic. I had no idea what I was doing. And I did go to YouTube and searched all these different things, but I just I could not understand it. So what did I do? I took pictures of the equipment that I had And AI walked me through step by step. Here's how you need to set up your audio, the settings, where to go, how to get the camera into 4K, all the things that I would have had to pay a company to do. And I don't have that kind of revenue right now. I don't have any revenue coming in for the podcast at this moment. And so I am doing this out of my own time because I do believe in the work that we're doing collectively at Project School Nutrition, but also through my personal brand, Ashley Marina. And I know that I need to do this without having revenue first. And that's okay. But with that being said, you have to do with what you have right now where you're at. I absolutely love that quote. And AI has been a game changer for that. I honestly don't know if I would have been able to get the podcast up and going without it or without having to pay for something that I honestly just can't afford right now. So shout out to AI. I know that there's a lot of hate around it, and I get it in the data centers, and I'm here for that, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Um, okay, the next one is make a checklist before you hit record. Okay. So the Rodecaster has to be plugged into the camera. That is how you get high quality audio. If I were to just turn my camera on and record, it doesn't pick up your voice very well at all, like barely. So in order for you to hear me through this mic and it to sound really nice, it has to go through the Rodecaster into the camera. At the beginning, do you know how many times I would forget to plug that in to the camera? How many times I would do that? And then I would record an episode and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't plug in that audio part. I don't even know what it's called, but I didn't plug in the adapter for it. And then I'd have to re record my episode. Now, I don't use a teleprompter, I rarely use notes. This is just me speaking my heart and just kind of going through it. So when you have to re-record the episode, you're like, darn it, did I already say this? Did yeah, I just make a checklist. Make a checklist so that you know, okay, the memory card is in the camera. I plugged in for my audio. My phone is on do not disturb because there's been many times where I've recorded, forgot to do that, and then my phone goes off. Also, part of that checklist is making sure that Louie, my dog, and June, our cat, are not in the studio or my office when I'm recording. I used to let them stay in the room with me, but what happens? Louie sees something outside, he barks. June climbs up and around and all over the place, and it's distracting. If you've seen earlier episodes, you used to see her in the curtains I had behind me, and the curtains would be moving. So make a checklist. All right, so the next thing, so this would be lesson number 7. And again, in no particular order, and I think I've learned a lot more than 10 lessons, but lesson 7, don't fixate on the numbers. So for me, I kept looking at how many views an episode would get, or downloads, or plays. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I only got 30, or I only got this number. But here's the thing, if one person is learning something from what I have to say and share, that's what it's all about. It is going to take time. People see things like overnight success, but I heard this quote recently and it was so good. It was like, success does happen overnight, but there were thousands of nights before that. So just don't give up there and don't get fixated on numbers or on one thing to determine what is successful to you. Like I shared, this is the 50th episode, but most podcasts don't make it past episode 3. So that right there is success to me. So don't get hung up on the numbers. I've also seen where the podcast was like kind of going like this, and then there'd be a moment where it went down and then would go back up again. And it mainly had to do with my thumbnails. Like once I changed the thumbnail of the episode, the views went up. It's so crazy. Again, I'm learning YouTube, and that's the whole process. Maybe I'll do like a whole YouTube episode one day for you, for anyone who's interested in that. All right, lesson number 8, be authentic, because I realized that my polished versions don't always perform as well as ones that are just very raw. There was an episode around Christmas time in December, and it was around comfort zone. So you can go back and look. And I think the last time I looked, I think it had 500 and some views in comparison to my other episodes. That was a pretty high performing episode. But here's the thing, I had my phone like this, holding it out in front of me, and I was sitting on my couch, and my arm was up on the back of the couch, and I was just recording myself. That's it. And the angle was terrible. It didn't look great. There was no special lighting, nothing. But that episode really resonated with a lot of you. It was not polished. It was real and authentic. And that is what we are all desperately craving in a world of AI. Yes, it's helpful, it's great, but we are all desperately craving real life interactions and connection with each other. It's also the same reason why, and I'm going to do a little plug here, that I started the letters to Ash to Dusk. Write me a letter, send me a postcard. I will write one back to you. I'll make sure that my PO box is listed in the show notes, but send me a letter of anything. Maybe it's a challenge that you have. Maybe it's something that you want to celebrate. Write to me. Let me know where you're from. I promise I'll never share who you are on the podcast, but I do like to open the letters and read them with you. And just, we're in this community together and we need the real life connection. We want realness. We don't want fake. And if you look at a lot of my episodes that were not very polished, those were the ones that have done the best. And I have seriously considered ditching the camera and just doing the podcast from my phone. But what is stopping me from doing that? How much I spent on the camera. All right. Lesson 9, don't wait until the last minute to record an episode. So I am still trying to figure out what my schedule looks like throughout the week because I have my hands in a couple of different things. We have Project School Nutrition, growing the personal growth brand, specifically this podcast, doing my weekly newsletter, being in the school districts, helping our school partners. We have a lot of different moving parts, and I'm still trying to figure out what my schedule throughout the day looks like. And there will be some weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have an episode that's supposed to go out tomorrow and I didn't do it yet. And so then I'm scrambling to get the episode done. And then I may not always be giving my best self or I'm just rambling. So give yourself time, or I need to give myself time. That would be a lesson to learn. um, don't wait last minute because, like I said, just sitting in front of a camera talking, it's a lot harder than it appears. All right, last but not least, lesson number 10. Others will judge, so follow your heart and your gut and stay true to yourself. People are going to judge you when you want to go do something. For me, like the podcast, like, oh my gosh, you're going to sit in a robe and do a podcast? Who's going to listen to that? What is going to happen with your school districts? Are they going to cancel your contracts because you're sitting in a robe and you're talking about hormones and parenthood and divorce and drugs and cheating on your spouse? I mean, all these things. Th- That's what I was getting. And what I've come to realize is oftentimes when people are judging us or judging you, it's their own insecurities that they're projecting onto you. They see you going after your goals and dreams. They see you pursuing something that you believe in so much, but because they don't have the courage to do that yet, they're sitting there thinking about all the things that could go wrong and happen to you. And I think in some ways, like sometimes it's out of a place of love, but most oftentimes it's due to their insecurity. And guess what, my friend? That's not for you to own. They're not the ones paying your bills, they're not the ones in the relationship with you. So as long as it sits well with you, like you know in your heart this is what you're supposed to be doing, or at least attempting to do. And if you're married, your spouse is on the same page as you, that's what matters the most. Everyone else, everything else is just noise. And I didn't make that as one of my lessons, but I would say that that would be another lesson is tune out the noise. For me, I've had to unfollow people on social media. I don't look at other people and what they're doing. I focus on myself. And it doesn't mean I don't want them to be successful. I do. I just don't want to feel like I'm either competing with somebody or that I'm not doing good enough. And that's on me. Like that, those are insecurities that I know that I've have and that I continue to work on. But I will never project that on somebody else because I think, heck, if they can do it, so can I. And that's the whole point of this. If we can see each other living out our dreams, that's inspiration for other people to also do it. But for some reason, we're still in this place or in this world where, we look at someone else and think if they're doing it, that means we can't because they're taking away from that. And if there's one thing that I've learned from the mission to the moon, Artemis 2, the whole journey of those 10 days, and I was so fascinated by that, is that at the end of the day, those astronauts had to have been looking back at us thinking, wow, everything that we fight about and worry about is small compared to everything. We're so vulnerable. We're just floating around in this beautiful marble that we call Earth in the middle of nothing. And we are counting on the sun and the gravitational pull of the moon to keep us alive. Nothing else really matters in the grand scheme of it all. So keep your head up. Go after your dream. You don't need all the things. I hope that this episode was helpful to you, or at least a little insight in the things that I've learned since starting my podcast. And I want to thank you again, even if you've only listened to one, if this was your very first episode, thank you so much. If you stayed around to the end of this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It does help the podcast reach those who are craving a community where they can learn and grow in without judgment. And I want to make sure that those people have access to this. So the more likes, shares, and subscriptions that we have, and again, it's all free, the more the algorithm pushes it out to the world. All right, my friend, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, keep your light burning from ash to dusk.